In 1914, Gandhi travelled back to India with his wife via London, a stopover which coincided with the outbreak of the First World War. This period was unpleasant for Gandhi, who was plagued with illness and exhaustion from his time in South Africa, although it was one which he still put to good use, forming an Indian Ambulance Corps in the British capital for Indian residents to continue their program of non-violent advocacy for empowerment and recognition. Once Gandhi had returned home, he joined the Indian National Congress and travelled throughout the country in an effort to reacquaint himself with the issues the country now faced, especially those of India's poor. Upon his return to the land he considered to be his spiritual home, Gandhi was welcomed with some curiosity and confusion. His wardrobe and style was seen by many as strange and unmodern, and some remained unconvinced of his model of a rural, loosely governed country which he promoted. Jawaharlal Nehru criticized Gandhi's theories as the Mahatma's fads, and members of the Indian National Congress generally considered his actions to be a distraction from the greater task of reforming the state and ending colonial rule. In 1917, Gandhi became aware of the plight of peasants in the Champaran district of northern India. The authorities there had forced them to grow indigo, with the result that they had become short of food to eat and sell, which meant that they could not pay their rent. Gandhi led a campaign of non-violent protest and non-cooperation against the authorities, and won concessions which allowed the peasants in Champaran to once again grow their own crops. The same system of satyagraha, or peaceful protest, was used again by Gandhi in a series of movements aimed at securing the status and livelihood of farmers in the Kaira district, and in a bid to secure the wages of cotton mill workers in Ahmedabad between 1917 and 1919. Indeed, the success of local-level satyagraha had inspired Gandhi to apply the same principles on a wider scale against the colonial government, with an opportunity presenting itself at the beginning of 1919. A year earlier, Gandhi had taken part in the British-led campaign to recruit Indian soldiers to fight in World War I. This has since caused many historians to question his dedication to non-violence and is hotly debated to this day. On the 18th of March 1919, the Imperial Legislative Council in Delhi passed the Rowlatt Act, another so-called Black Act, against the unified political opinion of Indian legislatures and politicians. This extended for an indefinite period the British Raj's power to arrest and detain anyone deemed to be engaging in revolutionary or anarchical activity. The Rowlatt Act in effect had removed the controls normally applied to law enforcement agencies and authorized them to operate outside conventional judicial boundaries in response to a perceived threat of terrorism. Gandhi had been inspired by the satyagraha policy used in local protests against the order to grow indigo, and wished to apply the same principle of non-violent, passive political resistance in his fight against the Black Act. Gandhi first warned the government against passing the act, which they ignored. In return, they warned him not to enter the city of Delhi or he would be arrested. Gandhi defied the order and was promptly arrested, resulting in widespread rioting throughout India. His protest failed on account of his small membership base and lack of political organization. Gandhi would later say that it was a Himalayan miscalculation to presume that the Indian population as a whole was ready for the form of protest which he had developed on a local scale. His position was further undermined by the fact that the Indian National Congress had neither sanctioned nor actively backed his program of peaceful protest. 4 days later, hundreds of Indians gathered in a park in Amritsar, despite public meetings being forbidden. A contingent of Empire troops entered the park under the command of Colonel Reginald Dyer and opened fire, killing hundreds of people, including women and children. Many people threw themselves down a well in the park to escape the hail of bullets. The Jallianwala Bagh of 1919 massacre, as it became known, severely damaged Britain's reputation in India and around the world, and did nothing but harden the resolve of Indians to gain independence. The massacre was one of the key events in weakening Britain's influence in India, and Gandhi soon began to push more than ever for India's freedom.